Hey, this is Carl Munson with the New Stories podcast, and I've got Ian Altosaar in Tallinn, Estonia, on the other end of Zoom. Hi, Ian.
Hi there. I'm really glad to be here, and look forward to our chat.
Well, this you've inspired me to start a new podcast series called New Stories, and I was thinking, the what it is you do, as far as I understand, is you've brought together money, finance, and astrology. Okay, and people have got big stories about both subjects, haven't they? The story of money is massive for people and massive in our culture, and especially at the moment with austerity and people, financial systems on the brink of something or other. And then you've
Yes.
got the other story of astrology, and people have got their prejudices and ideas about astrology, and often it gets put into the new age, when in fact it's much older than money, of course. And it's like
Yes.
old age, really, isn't it? It's an ancient
Yes.
art of understanding humanity and our place in the cosmos and all the help that can bring. But I don't want to steal your thunder and tell people what it is, because you're the expert on the astrology. But what's the service you provide, or how do you bring those two things together? And how did that happen?
I actually really enjoyed how you put this right now. It was amazing. That's exactly how I see astrology and finance. And for me personally, everything started with my own suffering, actually, with a story of loss and the mismanagement of everything, including big time my finances. So after basically losing everything and even more being in the red, I basically had to just dig my way out of that situation. And I started learning first, just like the financial side, how to manage my finances better. And then as time went on, I was like, okay, so everybody's doing this. So what else is there? And I was like, this astrology thing kind of makes sense. And I started learning about it. And I started, first of all, it was for me, it was like a let's say personal growth type of thing. I was like seeing human relationship patterns and stuff like that there. But then I started noticing and seeing that it plays a huge part in our like material day-to-day lives as well. So I discovered, okay, so this house means that I can probably invest in these things, and these things suit me personally well. And then I started taking action, meaning I literally started investing into those things and making money through those things that were in my chart specifically. And now, as I'm getting more and more, let's say, confident in those abilities, then I'm starting to offer this as a service to other people.
Fantastic. Now that is a story, isn't it?
Yeah,
So, and like, we want to know what happened. So I'm going to assume that the progress of the story is that you went from being in the red to seeing that you needed to do something about that, seeing a connection with astrology, and it's going fairly well, I take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's let's say 6 years ago this happened, and I was like completely broke, no money, just in the red. Had to move back with my mom and her partner, and I was like borrowing money, and I had to pay all that back, and it was really painful, and like huge lesson from that period. But that pain actually like fueled this desire to learn, to grow, and to make to achieve something better and something else entirely. And right now I'm buying my first home, I'm making investments, I'm like more comfortable financially than I've ever been in my entire life. So I mean, it's a pretty good turnaround in 6 years, I would say. Like, I put a lot of effort. I mean, a lot of effort, a lot of learning, doing practices, and some failures along the way as well. And like, it's gradually growing and coming, and it's getting better. Like I would say daily, even usually.
Wow.
Obviously,
So
like there's I don't want to like sugarcoat it like too much. Like
yeah, sure.
there's obviously challenges in everything, like in life in general.
Yes, but of course you might be also underestimating yourself a little bit. It's easy, isn't it? In the I was going to say the drama of your own story and the pain that you mentioned there. You know, it's a sort of hero's journey stuff, isn't it? You need an amount of irritation to get you going, and you've had that, and now it sounds like the word that came to mind for me was turnaround as well, and you've made that happen. Now, the more cynical, the more cynically minded people, the people we referred to earlier, who've got the story of astrology as being something that they know from the sun sign astrology that they see in popular culture and so on. What is it that astrology brings to your turnaround and your financial success that the cynically minded might say, well, that's just a matter of financial planning and being a bit more sensible with money? What is the astrological turbocharge and the edge and the difference that astrology's brought to you that makes that hybrid very special and powerful?
Yeah, that's a good question. For me, it's the astrology actually really helps with the planning, like the very material planning. You can see periods in, let's say, in even societal structures and timelines. But for you yourself as a person personally, you can see like this month, okay, I have to be a little more careful with finances. I have to plan. I have to figure out where to put. And then you can see the times when it's much better to take, let's say, aggressive action towards, let's say, new investments or putting your money to grow or like doing more active things with your money. You can literally see and plan and map out those things. And one of the biggest things I think for me is literally seeing the places where to invest according to my own personal chart. And this can be done for everybody. You have to know how to read an astrological chart.
And this is amazing, of course, isn't it? Because I think what you're talking about there is a framework based on something very patterned and predictable, really, in the movement of the planets and the sort of astrological body, heavens, or however you might refer to it. So, whereas your traditional finance people, they kind of never really tell you, do they? They talk about gut instinct and so on, and that might well be a part of it. But it must be very reassuring as well to see that there might be patterns and predispositions and opportunities in the movements of the planets. And even if you are skeptical, and I don't know why I'm playing so much to the skeptics here, but that's in a way is also quite a useful framework of skepticism, isn't it? To map against other people's ideas about this, or my prejudices about their prejudices, I suppose. But you really are bringing a formality and a framework to things by bringing in the astrological. And I think that does require people to check their story about astrology, because it's not fortune cookie astrology, is it? I mean, people think astrology is like, you break open the fortune cookie or read your sun sign astrology in a newspaper, tall, dark stranger coming into some money. And that is obviously kind of real sort of fairgrounds, frivolous, superficial stuff. But it would appear to me, and I have to put my hands up to a sort of vested interest here, is that I'm not married to a financial consultant. I'm married to an astrologer.
I know.
Now she's helped me understand that this is beneath the frivolity and how people understand astrology, is a really sound framework for understanding possibility. So it's a beautiful mixture of seeing what might be possible based on very real positioning and almost sort of a predictive capability that doesn't tell you exactly what's going to happen, but gives you some clue. And is that the power that you're sort of bringing to financial planning here?
Yes, exactly. It's not like a super exact like comma places science. This is the exact probability. this is going to happen. But you see a planet, you see it move somewhere, and it gives you an indication of an event that is highly probable of happening, and how it will, in my case, very likely. I've observed it so much how it will very likely influence others as well. You as an astrologer, or me as an astrologer, I can know already, but like other people don't really know, but they're still affected by these movements, maybe subconsciously, but they're still affected and they can feel it. They just don't know what it is, and they will, let's say, make those movements with the money in those periods of time where we can map them out astrologically. Yeah. So we can see, okay, this is a good place where people are going to put in a lot of money to those areas. So we know that we can, if we want to, move into those areas as well.
It's amazing, and it's known throughout history as well, isn't it? I mean, books have been written, of course. If you scratch the surface, books have been written on financial astrology, and it's so interesting to me that people might dismiss this, because I think we had a conversation before about you. Well, I heard you talking in a conversation before about how the 1st of January might not be a very good day to make New Year's resolutions. And this is like billions of people, millions of people picking a random day who might be skeptical, who might say they're not superstitious. And then they choose a random sort of calendar-based day, day 1 of January. And what you said, I think, was without a new moon being there, which again is a time-honored historical position for people, isn't it? To launch things, to plant seeds. The ancient people knew something about new moons. And that's why it's probably more useful to plant the seeds of your desires and intentions on a new moon than it is to pick the 1st of January, whenever that is in the cycles of nature.
Yes. And it's I've tested it out on my own life so many times already that I'm so very, very convinced that it works. So the new moon example, let's put it a little, or take it a little further there. It happens to be, let's say it happens to be the new moon on the 1st or the 31st of December, let's say, and it's in the sign of Virgo, for example. So Virgo is health routines, it's diets, it's like exercise routines, it's healthy habits, let's say. And if you decide then on that day to start those things, those themes, I've seen it have massive change, massive difference. Than, for example, if you started a week after that, or a week before that, because it gives you an extra lift, an extra boost. I don't know, it might sound a little cheesy, but it's like the universe is it's taking you with it. Yeah, and it's a little easier to exist on this material plane.
I totally get it, and I'm wondering why, if this works, which I think it does, why is it like an occult, specialist, esoteric interest? Why, if this works, aren't more people doing it? Is it something to do with the stories of our current culture that reject that? Well, you must have thought about this a lot. Why it works? Why don't more people do it?
I think a part of it is suppression. I think this, I have no actual evidence for it. So this is my, let's say, thought process with it is, there's a saying that millionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do. And what do billionaires do in a capitalistic society when they achieve this type of, let's say, monetary power and influence?
Yeah.
Well, they usually don't want that information for the masses, because if everybody starts using it, everybody will do better and they will have less power. So this is a bit of like like a conspiracy theory in my view, but I think and I believe it has at least some bit of a truth that it's this science has been kept under the rock, so to speak, because of I would say business interests, and hopefully with the internet and everything, it's becoming more common. It's becoming like a mainstream science, and people are starting to use it, and most importantly, seeing the benefits of it.
Yeah.
And one of the things I want to add here is like if an astrologer or a guy like me or for yourself, like who isn't like really famous or anything, starts using astrology and makes it big, like really big, I think that would be like, and shares that story, I think then it will be like blows up into the masses, let's say.
Is that what you're going to do?
I hope so. I've been planning on it. I really hope that I can make it that big, but for personal reasons and for those reasons that I really think and I see and I've tested it out so many times. I see it works. It has so many benefits for human beings, like as a species. Together, we can use this for our benefit and make things much easier, I think.
Yeah, and I think the current story of the dominant culture is scarcity and fear, isn't it? So of course, powerful information, powerful techniques may well have been buried or not shared because people are scared that the money in the world is not going to go to them; it's going to go to other people. And what we're understanding, of course, is that we can have infinite abundance, I think. And not worry so much. Things are changing, aren't they? I think people are understanding the power of collaboration and sharing, and that there is enough to go round. I mean, maybe enough people have become millionaires and billionaires to be sending the message back to the rest of us to say, and in fact, a lot do, don't they? Like Jim Carrey's a great example, isn't he? Like, go back. You don't want to do what I've done. And like, how many more millionaires, billionaires does it take to be telling the story that, wealth is not quite as we understand it. And I'm not saying people shouldn't become wealthy and shouldn't enjoy money. That I'd love that. I think that would be just a great lesson for humanity to understand what abundance is and what enough is. And then we can get on with some other priorities, can't we? Once we've nailed that little bit. And that's the Jim Carreys of the world, I think, are doing that. And every billionaire we know, the Warren Buffetts and so on, you can see they're not really interested in that game that everyone else is playing to get where they are. It's a really bizarre thing. But I'm really glad that you're, part of your story, as it were, is, to share and to make that explicit and exoteric, I guess. So how do people get involved? What does working with you look like? How does that process start? And how do people get in touch?
I think the best thing is that they just search for a mystical money machine on Facebook, or just Google my name, Ian Altosaar. Then I think my webpage is number one on the search list. You can get all the information, all the links from my webpage and on Facebook as well. And you can join the group. I do my best to post bi-weekly content as much as I can, and just share my knowledge and wisdom and my journey, as my this is an ongoing process for me all the time, and I'm sharing as much as I can.
Well, I thank you for that, and it sounds like fun as well. It sounds like Scooby-Doo, the mystical money machine. It sounds like a great adventure. we could go on together in the camper van together when we're all millionaires and billionaires. So looking forward then, as an astrologer and as a money man, we're at a particular point in history, aren't we? 2019, just turn the page to open 2019 for humanity. There's been a really strange money story since 2008, and the some cycles people are saying that that was a little bit of a hiccup before a big hiccup that's coming. So that's one story that's going around. So bringing together your financial understanding, the money stories in the world at the moment, and your understanding of astrology, what are you seeing for 2019? Can I ask you that?
Yeah. 2019, in my opinion, in my let's say, astrological research is, there's going to probably let's say it's been a financial boom. In different markets, it's fluctuated a little, and stuff has happened. But in general, it's been like a growth like cycle. Let's put it that way. And I think it will continue on in this 2019, largely because Jupiter is in Sagittarius. That means, for like in earthly speak, this means that everything will be expanded, because Jupiter brings a lot of expansion everywhere. And because it's in its own sign, it's very strong. And the influence of Jupiter is big and doing big things. And it does, in my view, very much rule like the stock markets, cryptocurrency markets. So I think we'll see more expansion there, more activity there, more luck there, usually.
Well, the cryptocurrency people are going to be glad to hear that.
Yeah, I know it's been a tough time, lately, and I hope so. I hope so. There are some difficult aspects to the planet of Jupiter. So I don't think it will be as smooth sailing as I just described here. There's going to be difficulties, obviously, because they're going to be from the planet of Neptune. I'm afraid, this is my little fear speaking here, that those markets might be a little manipulated by bigger entities. So definitely have to be watchful of that, and just if you listen to this and go, oh, I'm going to go all in on the market and invest everything, just calm yourself down a little and do invest, but gradually and with a groundedness. Let's put it that way, and don't put everything on the markets.
Don't put your shirt on it just yet. And it's interesting, isn't it? Because this isn't financial advice, and there are two aspects to this, aren't there? Where there's the kind of world expansion and there's the individual, which are very, there can be individual disasters, can't there? But generally speaking, there can be an abundance and a growth for humanity. And perhaps, that's one interpretation, I suppose, isn't it? Possibly of Jupiter in Sagittarius for cryptocurrency, is even if it doesn't work out for some individuals, generally for cryptocurrency and humanity's understanding and embracing of that philosophy, there could be a massive growth in that. But what I'm hearing from you is take responsibility, because this is what happens, isn't it, with any kind of esoteric knowledge that is coming to the fore now, is that people want the magic solution, the magic bullet. And it just, you have to, I guess you get the best information and you still always have to take responsibility.
Yes, always. I've literally learned this the hard way. I've wanted the magic bullet through astrology. There isn't actually. This astrology can help us, and it can help individual and the society. But do other research, learn other things, learn about the economy, learn about markets, banks, interest rates, everything. It can help us, but it won't alone liberate us. It doesn't have that capacity. We only have that capacity.
Well said, sir. I think that's probably a really great place to leave it on that note of what a gift this is to humanity. But ultimately, you have to take responsibility for your life, and this is all about help and support and information and being prepared. And that last little bit is the magic of life, really, isn't it? That we have to be responsible for, and our adventure and so on. And it's amazing to hear, you've actually been through that. You sound like a great person to work with in terms of, being there, sharing your story of what you've been through. You don't often get that with people necessarily. They hide behind their shop, don't they, with their services. But it's amazing to hear how you've turned that around for yourself. So magical money machine.
Mystical money machine.
Yes,
Yeah.
my mistake. Sorry, because I was just there was this thing that the British Prime Minister used to say, there was no magical money tree, I think. But she was able to shake it when she needed to. But anyway, that's another story. The mystical money machine. Ian Altosaar, search him. He comes up in the searches, and a great guy to talk to, bringing those two things together and changing the story of finance and astrology together. Did you want to say a last word or share anything that's been on your mind recently, Ian, about this subject? Because you obviously think about it a lot.
Yeah, I think about it a lot, and I know for right now at this moment, I think for us as a like a global species or like a species in general, it's very important to understand what system we live in. That it is in Western society mostly, and in other places as well. It is a capitalistic system. We have to understand how it works, so we can see what in it works and what doesn't, in order for us to move to a new system. Because I'm not knocking down capitalism. I'm basically what you call a capitalist, but I see that there is better things out there, and we just need to figure them out and move towards them together. That's how I at least see it. We really need to come together somehow. I don't have the exact plan yet, but this is what we need to start moving towards.
Fabulous. Yes. Let's leave it there. Ian, thank you so much.
Thank you.